morning, students. Welcome back once again to a new day, a new class at Easy Chemistry. उस दिन हम लोगों ने जो प्रीवियस टाइम मुलाकात हुई थी उसमें ज़्यादा कुछ अभी प्रोग्रेस नहीं किया है, बट वी वांट टू स्टार्ट ऑफ फ्रॉम वेयर वी लेफ्ट एग्जैक्टली. सो द अदर डे वी वर स्टिल डिस्कसिंग Neil Bohr's theory. Okay, but as you must have noticed that while coming down to the topic, I have some other intermediaries to explain to you. तो बच्चों ये अगर हम बात करें तो अभी तक हमें पता है न्यूट्रॉन्स, rather let's make it nucleus, protons, electrons. Now, since these are subatomic particles, we have to have certain kind of a description for these and an explanation for these as well. Atomic number, mass number, okay. एटॉमिक नंबर और मास नंबर दो ऐसे वर्ड्स हैं जो हम लोग अभी से लेके जब तक केमिस्ट्री पढ़ेंगे किसी न किसी रूप और फॉर्म में हमारे पास आएंगे ही आएंगे. एटॉमिक नंबर इज एक्सप्रेस्ड बाय ए एंड मास नंबर इज एक्सप्रेस्ड बाय जेड. नाउ आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग, बिकॉज यू ऑल आर स्टूडेंट्स हु आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर नीट, सो आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग दैट आप लोगों को एटॉमिक नंबर और मास नंबर का कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर होना चाहिए. बट in order to avoid any kind of a doubt at my end, I am going to explain it to you all over again. Atomic number. A refers to the number of protons or electrons in the atom. Okay. Now, atomic number refers to the mass of proton or electrons in an atom. Mass number is equals to neutrons plus protons, or rather we shall make only neutrons. ठीक है? Okay. So Z is equals to A plus E. Since E has been referred to any body which has charge and mass both, that is why electron has a charge to mass ratio of 1.726 into 10 raised to power minus 28. So this is the charge to mass ratio, C/M ratio. The time that the C/M ratio was found out was because of the uncertainty principle. Uncertainty principle had it very clearly mentioned that because of the centrifugal force, also centripetal force. Okay, centrifugal force and centripetal force were responsible for the creation of uncertainty principle. Reason: at the time of electrons being filled, this is my nucleus. These are the two orbitals in which, or the two orbits in which electrons are supposed to be filled in. So because of this, if the electrons are not filled in properly, as in they do not follow the centrifugal or the centripetal force, then the atom is liable to be disintegrating in space. Reason again here, अगर न्यूक्लियस ने बाहर के बाउंड्रीज की तरफ लेट्स से 7 न्यूटन फोर्स exert किया, लेकिन from the outside to the inside we might have 9 Newton. Then what will happen? Then this orbit will be dragged back into the nucleus, or will go and overlap the nucleus. The reason being the outer force, which is the centrifugal force from outside to inside, is stronger than the centripetal force, the countering force from nucleus to the outer orbit. So keeping this in mind, what happens is the electrons was supposed to be arranged in a manner that this 7 neutron का जो centripetal force है, that is equally managed to up to the centrifugal force. Okay. So this was the uncertainty कि भैया इसको electrons को occupy कैसे करवाएंगे. However, that time when Mr. Bohr proposed his atomic theory, he said, in order to maintain the stability, I'll repeat, in order to maintain the stability of the atom, stability, this is the key word, in order to maintain the stability of the atom, the electrons were allowed to jump from one orbit to the other orbit and vice versa. मतलब ये कि यहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रॉन ए है, यहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रॉन बी है, दोनों ने एक दूसरे को समझा कि बॉस इफ आई मूव इनसाइड, if this A moves outside, my atom, my nucleus will remain stable for a longer period of time. Since you must be remembering that an electron was classified as having a charge as well as in a mass. So keeping that point in mind, what happens is when they jump from one orbit to the other, they emit radiation. Because of this emission of radiation, so now we have the birth of spectrum. Why did this spectrum get born? The spectrum came into existence because, according to Niels Bohr's atomic theory of description, is one electron jumps from higher or lower orbital in order to help in attaining stability. Okay. Now, this spectrum could be broadly classified into two types: line, continuous. Continuous was again, rather let's put it this way, spectrum, absorption, emission. So the spectrum that was created was further divided into two major types, which is termed as absorption and emission spectrum. Absorption spectrum, as you all understand, can be only absorption. Emission spectrum was further divided into line spectra and continuous spectra. Continuous spectrum is something which overlaps one another and the wavelength seems to be in tune, or we can have the wavelength of a continuous spectrum in sync with the given frequency that we desire. For example, while listening to radios or while using walkie-talkies or any other radio frequency based device, we are able to sync it up based on what our need is and our requirement is. However, line spectrum, Line spectrum is something which is denoted by a continuous straight line. These lines of the spectrum, or these lines cannot be in sync, nor can they have a frequency or a wavelength of a given range, which means if, let's take a normal example, if we have to search for someone, or if we have a particular wavelength or a frequency being given to us, radio frequency, we can only match that radio frequency if that radio frequency or the wavelength frequency is a part of the continuous spectrum. अगर line spectrum होगा बच्चों, तो we cannot backtrace it, because line spectrums are like नदी के दो किनारे. They move parallel to each other, but they never cross each other. Okay, now this is something that we should be understanding about spectrums. Going back to the another concept that we have, where E or electron is said to carry charge. Okay, so when we say that the electron is carrying charge, we mean that the electron is assisting us with the transfer of electricity. I hope you understand that point at least. So when there is an electric field created by the movement of this electron, there has to be a electromagnetic field being created. Electromagnetic field. Now there is a very interesting part, or a very interesting story attached to it, which comes from there was a chemist or a physicist whose name was Hund, H-U-N-D. He gave us a right hand thumb rule, or we could also call it as a finger rule. When we say a right hand thumb rule, is what we mean. If my thumb points 90 degrees perpendicular, if the electric field is perpendicular, the magnetic field has to be horizontal, which means if this is a charge, then because of this movement of electron, अगर electric field मेरी ऐसी बन रही है, but in that situation my magnetic field will be denoted by these vertical lines. Also, you need to remember that this magnetic field increases near the transfer of electricity, hence this is also termed as magnetic flux. Okay, so this is the Hund's thumb rule. Now you must remember this fact, children, that this additional presence of magnetism here gives rise to the magnetic flux, and once magnetic flux is formed, then there is a movement in the electric current field as well. However, before we do that, let me explain this concept also to you. Electrolyte, anode, cathode. Okay, so electrolyte. Electrolyte is any liquid which assists in the transference of charge through it as when this acts as a medium, which means electrolyte is a liquid or a medium through which charge can travel very easily. The most common electrolyte is H2O. Anode, cathode. Now if I have to complete the circuit, what I will do is, anode, say electron will move through the electrolyte and reach the cathode. Once it reaches the cathode, outside the battery it shows that the charges flow from cathode to anode. Why cathode? Cathode से इसीलिए क्योंकि बच्चों cathode has excess of electrons. Anode is said to have less electrons. However, remember one thing guys, this has less electrons because of the fact this is always ready to lose electrons. इसीलिए जब एनोड और कैथोड किसी भी बैटरी या किसी भी सेल में प्लेस किए जाते हैं तो जो उसका एनोड पोल है वो फटाफट इलेक्ट्रॉन लूज करके जो इलेक्ट्रोलाइटिक सॉल्यूशन है उसको ब्रेक डाउन करके उसमें एक्सेस ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स जमा करता है अपने। अब जब वो इस इलेक्ट्रोलाइट सॉल्यूशन में एक्सेस इलेक्ट्रॉन जमा करेगा तो ऑब्वियस सी बात है इलेक्ट्रॉन्स मूव करेंगे। यहाँ पे कैथोड की नॉर्मल टेंडेंसी जो है वो इस बात से मायने रखती है कि भैया मैं ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इलेक्ट्रॉन अपने पास अक्यूमुलेट करूं। एक बार उसने अक्यूमुलेशन स्टार्ट करी तो यहाँ पे एक्सेस चार्ज हो जाता है, तो ये एक्सेस चार्ज जो कैथोड पे होता है, अगेन द टेंडेंसी टू कंप्लीट द सर्किट द चार्ज मूव फ्रॉम कैथोड टू एनोड। सो आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड कि कैथोड से एनोड, एनोड से कैथोड, which means within the electrolyte the charge moves from anode to cathode. However, to complete the circuit externally, the charge moves from cathode, the electricity moves from cathode to anode. This type of cell is called electrochemical cell. Why this electrochemical cell? क्योंकि इससे मतलब इस सेल में chemical are used to produce electricity. Hence, this is called an electrochemical cell, and this solution in which the breakdown happens is called an electrolyte. So, bachcho, I would be winding up the small session right now. We shall meet the next time as soon as possible. Till then, keep studying chemistry. Thank you.